The world won't understand you. Hey, but it's okay. Said the world won't understand you. Cause I made you in my own way. Said the world won't understand you. Cause I made you.
Hey, what's good, everybody? Hope you guys are all well. Welcome to episode 102 of In a Good Way podcast. I had to make this video because I tried to go live yesterday and it just wasn't happening, right? It was funny because on Sunday it was the anniversary of it wasn't a spiritual awakening, right? But it was one of the things that have impacted me the most within the recent years, right? And so even as I was talking about it, it was funny to talk about it live because I was like halfway through the live, I was like, wow, this was the wrong decision, right? Because as I was talking about this traumatic event that had happened, because it was a traumatic event, I started sweating all crazy. I was like, what in the hell is going on, right? I started, you know, it's almost like when I tap into things, right? Like how I could pick up on other people's energy. But in this case, it was like I was picking up on my own. I was reliving what I had happened to me, what had happened to me at that moment, right? So it was crazy to be back in that exact moment and feeling all the things, not as bad, obviously, but I was able to go back to that place. So I was like, oh, wow, what the hell did I just do? Right. So, I try to keep on pushing with the live, right? I remember my first live, it was like a quick 1 minute one, and that was it, right? And then it was like, okay, let me just end this, right? Uh my first solo live, right? And then after that one, I think I talked for like 11 minutes, then I just, you know, I think I left it up for a while, then I just took it down, right? But that's why that was last night. But this morning, that's why I had to do this this video, to talk about that. So what had happened was, I was on my way somewhere, right? And I hadn't told nobody or anything. That's what made me kind of look into. I was never someone that was concerned about like spiritual attacks or anything like that, right? To me, that stuff was like, it's cool. I had even seen it, right? I had seen it before. Even once when I had this, like, I didn't even have a vision of it. I just heard it. I was laying in bed and I heard it, and then someone told me that, oh, they had a vision of someone trying to do some stuff, right? Oh, no, no, I lie. I had been actually spiritually attacked, right, by somebody, but it was like I was able to see who was doing it, and I was able to confront them about it and all that stuff. I mentioned briefly, like in the owl video, right? But anyway, so yeah, to that level, right? I woke up one day and I decided to drive. After my brother passed that same year in 2019. Like that's one of the first times I was visited by, the beings, right? Like the Palladians. So after that happened, then the next year they visited me again. And that's when I saw where they were, right? They were at this place. And so I felt like I was supposed to go to this place, right? After I researched it and everything, it was a place I had never heard of. After I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm supposed to go there, right? Like I was supposed to go meet them. And well, I might as well say it, right? It's like it was over there like in Mount Shasta, right? Like Mount Shasta, I had never heard of it, right? I wasn't into that. Like once I went on there, it was like it had become this new age thing. Not a new age like since recent, because it was already since times, right? I think this man had wrote a book about that he had gone there and he was able to go underground and all this and that and go to like this hidden city of, I forgot if it was Lemuria or what, right? But the ones that I seen in this thing were the Palladians, right? And they're the ones that I felt like all this love and I wanted to go with them. And it was over there. And it's like I woke up instantly and I knew where I was. And I had never heard of that place, nothing, right? Um, and then so when I started researching, then it talked about, oh, there's all these sightings that have happened over there. People believe that's the entrance to this underground See, the guy believed it instantly because I was like, whoa, I just experienced that, right? So it's real. Like there was no way for me to ever know that. There's no nothing, right? So that was my mission, right? I'm gonna go be with my family, right? So I don't know. I had all the confidence in the world. Like when I got there, I would find this opening to this underground city, whatever it was, I had all the confidence that once I got there, I would be rejoin with my family and leave, right? Or something. I don't know, or go to this other place. So, from me, it's like over 8 hour drive. I don't even know how far it is, right? But I was like, okay. I just hopped in my car that morning, didn't tell anybody. I was on my way, right? It was probably like 6 in the morning. I was like, I'll get there by, if I just boom, maybe just stop to put gas, right? I had some snacks, everything with me. I was like, I'll get there by sunset, right? Or something like that. And yeah, because it's already like right, the sun's setting kind of later and everything. So I was like, I'll get there at least by sunset or before sunset. So, anyways, I started on my journey, and then as I'm passing like LA, right, I'm feeling all this energy because it's barely, 2020 was the pandemic, then 2021 we're still going through it. They still haven't put any mandates or anything in 2021, so that happened at the end of the year. So this is in the beginning of 2021. And then I'm on my way, and as I'm passing through like downtown LA, that's where it's more, the millions of people, right? LA has, I don't know, by itself. Let me look real quick. Why not? Since I'm over here. Let me see let me see. Population of uh, uh, okay, real quick. So, 3 million people just like in LA, right? Almost 4 million. So, you know, as I'm driving through LA, at that point, right after my brother passed, that's when like all the veils dropped for me, right? Like, so I was as like that's the most psychic I had become fast, right? Like overnight, right? Um, with everything, right? The clear audience, clear sentience, clear this, clear that, everything, right? So I was already sensitive to all the stuff, right? I was very hypersensitive. So as I'm going through there, I felt like it was just the energy of that, right? Because that's already where downtown is, all the buildings and apartments and everything. So just people on top of people on top of people. So I was like, okay, I'm just feeling the energy from the people. Maybe everyone's, with all this, the pandemic, like people are losing their minds. Like you saw all the stuff like happening. People couldn't stand each other anymore and all that, right? So, like, okay, this is just pandemic energy. I just got to make it past downtown and I'll be okay, right? So then I pass it, boom, and I'm going. And maybe it's like, I don't know, I have been driving for like an hour, right? And all of a sudden it was just this thing just hit me where it was too much. I just couldn't. So I was like, dude, there's no way in how I'm gonna make it. I don't know what's happening to me. Started feeling all this energy. So I turn around. And I'm just like, oh man, I'm just trying to hold it together, right? I'm just trying to hold it together. I felt like I was starting to like I couldn't but everything, like I was just trying to hold it together. So finally I get maybe like halfway from my house. I still got like another 30 minutes to go, and I just pulled over, and I just I just stopped right away at the first parking I see, and then I'm like shaking. I hop out of my car, I'm shaking like if I'm getting hit with a taser. And like I was saying in the little live I did yesterday, like I've crashed at 100 miles an hour, and that didn't even compare to the feeling I felt with this situation, right? It was like, and just not knowing what's happening, right? Like there was no rhyme or reason to it, right? I didn't understand what was going on with me, and I'm just there shaking out. I managed to put out a phone call, right? And then they went to get me, and then someone drove my car back. And as we're going, like tears even came out. I ain't even gonna lie, right? I was just like, I'm telling you, like it was that bad. I've never felt anything like that before in my life. Um, you know, and so it hit me for a long time, right? It was like, there's this movie, The Ghost in the Darkness, where where the guy, Michael Douglas character. It's funny because that movie is based on a true story, but in real life, that guy didn't exist, right? They invented him for the movie to make things cooler, right? But he tells Val Kilmer's character, right? The other guy is Michael Douglas, and he tells Val Kilmer's character, he's all right, you just been hit. The getting up is up to you, right? Like, so at that moment I had been hit, right? It's like a pivotal moment in your life where, I got hit. So after that, my whole life flipped upside down, right? It was like that, the trauma, yeah, because at that point I didn't know what it was, right? Like I'm saying, like even like after I crashed, right? I was a little traumatized, right? Like I remember after I crashed, even I don't know how the hell I ended up, but I remember I ended up in a car, right, with this ex-girlfriend, and I remember she was driving like a maniac, and I snapped at her. I remember 'cause we're driving through the streets, and she's just like zoom, and I guess I'm all holding on, like I had just crashed like at 100 miles an hour, so I was like, yeah, it just came out, and I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, da, 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 and she's just like, oh shit, and then she just slowed down, right? But it was like worse than that, like that times 100, right? Like I had been hit, and then I started having panic attacks, all this stuff, right? So, anyways, that was the beginning, right? But what did it force me to do? It forced me to stay put because after my brother had passed, that's when I was starting to take, like, I would drive like you know like all of a sudden I would boom, I'd start driving like 8 hours later, all of a sudden I'm in Arizona, like, and I'm just like, how did I get here? Why did I come here? Like, kind of things, right? Like I would just hop and drive everywhere, right? So that's why I wouldn't have been nothing that day. Driving that distance wouldn't have been nothing, right? But then something even made me look up that day, and it was out of all things on Orthodox Easter, right? So it was the anniversary, not the day, because I guess it changes every year, which is funny. But on Sunday was the anniversary, right, of Orthodox Easter, 3-year anniversary since that moment, right? Um, and that marked, like, when I started having all these like horrible panic attacks. I went to the emergency room at least twice or three times. I forgot, right, after that had happened. Because I didn't know it would like, but it was deeper because it was that it was like something had stopped me, right, from getting to that destination. Like, so it made me even believe more now in hindsight, that if I would have gotten there, like, I would have found what I was looking for, right? Because now in hindsight, right, obviously, you know like, I wrote the book now at this point, right? Like, that I was shown, like, even though before that moment I had already been shown little aspects of my pre-planning thing or whatever, right? But I hadn't been shown the level of how like, I had seen a few things like, okay, I agreed with this, I agreed with that, right? It made sense, especially, right? Like my whole life having premonitions and all this stuff. And it's funny because it's like, even that I try to explain to people, but it doesn't matter because one thing, like, a lot of times, like, people will always project their ideas onto you. It's just a part of life, right? It happens in the physical world, right? It doesn't matter. Like, if you see all the things that people are wrong, right? Like, it's just is the way it is, right? People are wrong with things, right? Like, look how long slavery was around. Look at all the murders of different peoples that have happened throughout. So human beings have shown that in their head they can feel that they're right with things, and they'll project their beliefs onto you. Look at religion, right? The fact that religion survived this long with all the things that they've caused, right? Or any ideas. You have ideas that people project on you, that it is what it is. It's human nature too, and it's no doubt in the spiritual community, right? I've came across that just as much spiritually, that people will project their thoughts, their thoughts and ideas, right? So it is what it is. But since I've dealt with it already in the physical life, it doesn't even it doesn't phase me. Not that it doesn't get irritating sometimes when people project things on you, but for example, like, I try to explain, like, when I see visions, like even the other day, right? Like 2 days ago, right? I had a dream that there was pizza. I just kept seeing pizza, and I was just like, damn, this is making me hungry. I woke up like at 4 in the morning, and I like, dude, I'm freaking starving because there was pizzas, right? So it was just funny. And then, like, later on in the day, like, I don't know, in the afternoon already, I call a friend all random. I like, I don't know. I feel like talking. Let me call this friend. And we're talking, and he mentions another friend that talked about eating pizza, and I was like, wow, there it is, right? So it doesn't matter how weird the things are that I see that don't even like. And how did I dream about pizza, right? Like, did I see a pizza commercial, something like? Sometimes, I forget, like, but no matter what, like when I see things, they just come true. That's why sometimes even that, if I see like an alien invasion or things like that, I know that it's possible. It could be 5 years from now. There'll just be that movie, right? That exact scene that I see, it could just be a movie. So not to say that, oh, I seen this thing. It's it's gonna happen. What I seen is gonna happen, but it might just be that it's a damn movie that's coming out, right? Like that's happened before. That's what I'm saying. But for the example, I'm just bringing that up because that's one of the things that people try to project sometimes, right? And it's fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at this point. Like I say, sometimes it just gets irritating when people project things on you, right? So I don't know how I got into that exactly, but let's just say maybe with that, right? Like this whole thing about oh, okay. Let me go back to make sure I don't veer off. So I was talking about the pre-planning stuff, right? So even since like the premonition, maybe that made sense, right? Like, okay, since I see things with such accuracy, I feel like they must have been already like shown to me before I even came here, right? Like I must have already seen like, okay, I'm gonna go through this, I'm gonna go through that, boom, 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 right? Like even that point, right? It was like escapism, right? Like they were trying to, like it had to be something so traumatic to make me stay put. Cause then I was kind of traumatized. I didn't even want to go nowhere, right? I was like, I'm gonna get these panic attacks, this and that. Like I was hit, right? I was hit. And then I forced myself, right? I would force myself. I didn't want to be taking pills. So when I would drive somewhere and I'd start getting these like panic attacks, I would force myself through it just because I didn't want to take pills. And it was like never as bad as that moment, but reliving like little moments like that, right? Like with this anxiety and panic. And so one of the things like and then I was able to relate to people that have had anxiety because before that I was like I would think like nah, it can't be that bad to where you're always like just stuck on pills for the rest of your life or stuff like that, right? But see now, like for example, right? I just kept being shown things. And one of the things is like I knew that I had agreed to that, right? But I even knew that before I was even shown like because when I was young, that's one of the things, right? I was so moved by and I'm sure I've shared this before. I was so moved by the Bible that I remember reading the story of Solomon, and it was like I guess he had an option of what he wanted, right? He could ask for riches, he could ask for, because King David, I guess, had been like God's favorite that they say in the Bible, but um, what do you call it? And then Solomon was born, right? That was King David's son. So I guess it passed on, right? The blessings kind of passed on to King David's son, right? Um, and then it was like what do you call it? He asked for wisdom, right? So I was inspired to do the same thing when I was young. I was like, I don't want the money, I don't want nothing, I want wisdom, just like King Solomon, right? I was in love with learning, right? With knowing stuff. Um, and like right now, it just hit me again. Like I was reading this book yesterday. I'll share that story real quick. I talked about it in the live, but so anyways, I asked for knowledge, right? And so later on in life, when I was going through all these things, it one day I was all like, woe is me, like you know what I mean? Like I like David Goggins uses the word like poopy pants, right? I was all like poopy pants, like woe is me, like why does all this happen to me? And then it was like the most calm whisper just told me like, well, because you asked for it, right? That was the thing, you asked for it. So I was like, oh wow, I did, didn't I? Like, and I got it that I was learning more through experiencing than reading any book than anything. Um, like yeah, to me it was like I had a PhD times 100 in life, right? I actually experienced all these things, right? Like anything, like just so many things in life, right? Like yesterday, I was talking to a friend that randomly, like, there was no way I would have thought he had experienced that, but he had, and I had been through a similar thing too. So we were able to talk about that for a little bit. You know what I mean? It was funny. So there's just so many experiences that I could relate to people because I I experience a lot of different things in this life, right? But and unfortunately, even the traumatic things, and that's why you could relate to people and you help people through them, right? Um, if they want the help, and not like everybody's different, right? Not everybody wants to help. I think even that was a huge lesson for me, that I think I did fall into some sort of victim mentality after my brother passed away, without, it was just something like I had never really experienced that in life. So I had to experience it, right? To feel like I got into that, probably with it wasn't even about, and that was the crazy thing. It didn't even have to do with my brother's passing and this and that. It was just analyzing everything that was happening at that moment. And it was more like with work wise, right after, when I couldn't work after with the pandemic stuff. And then, even relationship stuff. I hate to say it, but, you know, that was a huge lesson, right? For example, I found this old video, like I was looking for this old like music track that I had done, right? Because I wanted to upload it. It was kind of like it sounds like a very meditative, song that I had wrote, but I have these drums in it. I was looking for it, so I was gonna actually upload it here to the YouTube channel, like as a meditation kind of thing. But I wanted to take out these drums because that's kind of distracting. Other than that, like it sounds like very meditative, right? Now that I've experienced that more, about just being able to chill. And I've been in these spaces where they're playing this music and I'm like, okay, like cool, you could meditate to music, right? So I wanted to upload this. So I'm looking for this file in the old hard drive, and I found a video that I was recording this one girl, right? That I was dating for a little bit, like very briefly, right? I don't even know if it was 2 months long or whatever. But uh in the thing, like, I knew we got along like that, but I didn't realize how bad it was, right? Like so she was very vulgar, right, when she talked, right? So she said bad like right away, right? So I'll just cuss right here. She was like, you I don't know, she said, you're an asshole, right? She's like, you're an this and that. And but you would laugh about it, right? But still, it's like I didn't let people talk to me like that, right? Like, but maybe at that point I hadn't really, maybe I went through that and then I relaxed and stuff. And then again, it was like I don't know, for some reason I kind of was accepting it, right? But you could hear it in the video that when she said that, you're an asshole, that I go like, like I could hear it in the video, right? I can't see because I'm recording her. I think I was recording her without her knowing, to show like so I could show her later, like, dude, look at, so for her, when she played victim, to be like, hey, dude, like, look at the stuff you're saying, right? Because you know how people do that, they'll be, I never said that and this and that, So I was recording her to show her, like, to show her that she, and then, but then that's what it was. It was like, as I was at that moment, I saw that I turned like Jekyll and Hyde. I was like, okay. And then I was relentless. So I was like, okay, like because I heard that. And then you could see, like, I knew, like, I didn't remember that I was that bad, but I was relentless, right? Hey, like, I know I could talk. Like, when someone, I guess she must have crossed that line, that boundary, that, I should have been more vocal about it. But I felt bad for her. I was like, oh wow, to where she was so mad. She's wanted to take off, right? She was like, I'm leaving, whatever. Cause that's all she had to say. Yeah, and that's, like they say, right? Like Gemini, even in the tarot cards, it's represented with the swords, right? So I was just like nonstop, like, and I wasn't doing it like in an angry way. I was just like very calm, laughing, very mischievous, and I was just like nonstop. Like that was my goal, I guess, to like nonstop. Like, hey, okay, you want to play like that? Like, you know, I could talk just as much, and I was just like, hitting things that hurt, right? Like I was bringing up things that hurt, um, from what I knew of her, and then it hit her bad. But see, and then it was funny because that person, when I finally stopped talking, and that's exactly what happened. Like, like I said, it was a very short thing. Um, and then it was like like when I was like, hey, you know what? We don't get along at all. Like this is not. And they even told me, I know, but they still wanted to keep it going. And I was like, dude, you just hello. Once they admitted it and they agreed with me that yeah, I know we don't get along at all, but they just wanted to keep it. You know what I mean? Like that was like that sealed the deal. With like, yeah, see, like, dude, this is insane. Like so I shouldn't never even let it stay that long, right? So it showed me like about the boundaries, right? Like, and that comes even that, right? Like where people want to project. So I'm glad to tie it all in together. Where people want to project their ideas on you, uh, you learn to build those boundaries, right? I think that's what I have now. That more than I'm glad I saw that video recently, right? And it's just coming off of the eclipse season. There was a whole death and rebirth thing for me, even with the owls, right? The owls came to me, and it was all that's why it's all tied in, right? I know there's this huge thing. I've always been tied into like biblical things, right? Like obviously that was the first thing that kind of started me on the road, right? Um, with my whole spiritual walk, right? It was biblical stuff, right? And knowing to stay away from the religions, but just going on my own way with the biblical teachings, right? It opened the door for me, and after I thought about it, like these three owls almost seem like the three wise men, right? Like that, right? Like, and there's other things I've read, like in this book I'm reading, they talked about three other things. I'm like, oh wow, so funny that these owls appeared to me, and they were like, come on this journey with us, right? They were like these ancient beings, and they were telling me to come on this journey. I think I even talked about it with Maria, right, in the live we did. And so these owls, um, it's the whole new journey, right? Like that I'm on right now, and it's like again of opening up, like that thirst for knowledge. I hadn't had it like this in a long time. And even that holding a book in your hand, like I hadn't really stopped to read a book in a while, right? Not like that, like where I'll do the audio books or this or that, but where you're actually holding a book, highlighting stuff, this and that, like really immersed in the teaching of the book, is interesting. But anyway, so before, like, right, damn, I forgot where I was going, why I mentioned the biblical stuff, right? Yeah, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so anyways, oh, I think just that, right, tying it into like the search for knowledge, right? But one thing is boundaries, right? Boundaries was a really strong thing to have. People will cross your boundaries sometimes. But what I was shown at one point was like, as long as you stand in it. So yeah, oh yeah, the victim mentality, right? So like that, like, because then thinking back on it, right? Like the situation with that girl, even though it was really short, right? But it was that, like, damn, I would have never. I don't know why I was even like, like I wouldn't have even been called that once by somebody, right? Or it would have been a firm warning, like, hey, like, nah, you don't talk to me like that. I don't call you out your name, right? Like I ain't over here calling you the B word or this or that. So you don't do that. I don't care if you think it's cute. Cause she would laugh when she would say, you're effing asshole or whatever, right? Like boom, boom, boom. And then it'd be like, dude, like, come on, like, you know, and all that stuff, right? Like, so it's not cute to me, and it never has been, right? But sometimes I guess it's almost like you feel like, maybe I'm being too rigid, too like I'm too so maybe I could ease up a little. But then after, then the next person was even worse, right? And that kind of stuff. So then that, right, like you start getting, like, at some point, I don't know, I must have gotten into some kind of victim mentality. Uh, but it was all triggered by my brother passing away, and then me just like some, I don't know how the hell, like, but I guess whatever. I was meant to experience it, right? At some point, I guess. But even this thing, like reminded me of all that, right? Just computer. I have my other thing right here. It's about, let me make sure, because I had put notes. Okay, so boom, boom. Uh, okay, yeah. So there's just one thing on there that I needed. Okay, because my computer's about to die. So, anyways, so yeah, about the toxic thing, and even the universe showed me that, right? Like, for example, once, I know this is going long, but hey, it is what it is. So even once, right? I was working on this show, right? And we're doing this scene, and it was just like, I don't know, 4 or 5 men and then one woman, right? And the woman comes in, and she's like, "Hey, bitches," or whatever, and all this and that. And I was like, "Hey, nah, and then she like tried to do it again, right? Like yeah, bitch. And I was like, hey, dude, like no, come on. How are you gonna walk into like nothing but men? Like I don't know. I was like, I don't know. These guys don't. Maybe they're cool with it, right? But like no, you don't like you're not gonna tell me like bitch, because I grew up from that, right? Like when I was young, it's like if someone would have called you that, like in the environment I was growing up, it didn't matter how big they were, how strong they were. Like those are the things where it's non-negotiable. Like even if I had to pick up a pencil to stab someone in the eye or something, like it was non-negotiable. It didn't matter if it was like, you know what I mean? Like a David and Goliath story. Like there would be no, you can't not address that, right? So this person, just coming in because she was a woman or whatever, and saying like, "Hey, bitches," whatever. It was like, and I told her right away, I was like, "Hey, nah, you don't do that, right?" So at that point, see, I was already stepping into those boundaries more. Like, nah, like this is not. I have to say something and it did. Like the first time she said it, I was like, oh, I just kept quiet. Like, hey, keep the peace. You know what I mean? I think she said it again now, like, hey, don't be saying that, whatever. And then she still tried to force it again. I had to come more, and then she kind of chilled, but she was brushing it off like, I don't gotta listen to you. Like, I don't know if that was like the first hint of like, oh, we're starting to get into some kind of, and even that the word woke before wasn't a bad thing. I think this is when woke was starting to be like people that want to act like a certain way, right? And so then we're walking and we're about to do this scene. And she just boom, she slips and she falls flat on her face, bam, and it was like the loudest thing, and I was just like, whoa, and that was just the universe showing like, don't worry, like, and I knew like right back even back then, right, I knew like the universe checked her, right, like real quick, like it was like, nah, hey, like so long as like I knew like I'll set my boundaries, and then if people want to do something like that, like you just have to learn to reinforce those boundaries, right? And even that, like I had to learn to not stick around people that, one thing is that, right? Like people that try to force their ideas. Like it's okay to give advice or this and that, stuff like that, right? Like I had a memory of that and I got it. I used to be sympathetic towards it because I got it, right? It's like before, right? Like if I would date a woman that had kids, right? Like sometimes they'll step into that of like talking to you like you're, because they're used to it, right? They're dealing with kids all the time, right? They have kids or a kid or whatever, and then so they're used to talking like that, right? So sometimes like that, sometimes if you're with a partner that has and they step into that mode, like, oh no, dude, it's like, hey, like, hey, you know what I mean? Like you're not talking to your kid right now. You're talking to a grown man. You got to ease back with that, right? And then they'll chill, right? But even that, that I get it that it's such an automatic response for someone that has kids that you could be more sympathetic to that, right? But sometimes it's like I analyze I look for the best in people to try not to like, okay, well, it's not their fault. But you can only excuse things so long, right? Like, and then people have to, like boundaries are very important, all that to say. But even that, right? It was like, I don't know why that popped in my head, whatever. But anyways, so there's things like that, right? Like some people, it's not ill intent, but others, yeah, it's like people always try to force things. So, anyways, whatever, all that. So, anyways, back to the main point of this whole video was um about my journey, right? But see, even that, right? Like I could talk about normal people stuff. I love that part of my journey that sometimes that's why too the spiritual, I get it that everybody wants to learn spiritually, but it's like at some point all that stuff is cool, but almost like the human stuff, not that it matters more because there has to be an equal balance, but we are here for this reason, right, of the human experience, or to solve this problem, right, to solve the problem that has plagued humanity for so long. Is like if we live in this information age now where we could communicate across the world, just like all the things that we know, right? Like that, oh, the 1% are pushing the things. But yeah, then again, it's like that. It's like, how did we never learn that boundary of saying, hey, we're not gonna put up with this, or we're not gonna, we're gonna boycott your product, or we're just not gonna deal with it, right? But that's why it's, the people at the top always find ways to keep us divided, right? They're very good at that, right? Um, and that's why, boundaries are, I don't know why I brought up this whole boundary. I'm sure there was a reason to it, right? Um, but anyways, so well, yeah, see, all this wouldn't even exist. Like I wouldn't have made the podcast. I wouldn't have nothing. If I would have never done none of this if that moment where I felt like there was this attack, right? And so still I don't know if I allowed something to attack me, like if I allowed, because a couple months before that had happened, I don't know if I had put it in my book or if I had talked about it. Two people had visions that it was like that. Like I was walking and it was like almost like there was this protective bubble around me, but it was like all these things trying to get me, right? It was weird. And then the other person had a vision that I was like walking about, and that they had never seen me terrified like that, and that I called out for help, and that these three wolves started running circles around me to protect me, right? And sure enough, right? Like at that moment, maybe I did feel terrified because I didn't know what was happening to me, right? So it added to that experience of like that, and I was just like stuck. I didn't know what to do. But I think that was an important thing that had to happen in my life because okay, I think there, like I'm winding it down because I feel like now I'm just rambling or going back and forth, right? But I'll just talk about this real quick. For example, I had once had the vision of, like, my grandpa who used to build things for like the Mexican government, and the president even acknowledged them at one point. I forgot which president. I'm not too keen on the whole history of the presidents from over there, right? But he would build these like he would build bridges, all this stuff, right? But one day, like when I first started rapping, right, I had like this name that I didn't really like, but whatever. People would call me. That was my nickname, right? That people had kind of called me by. And so after he visited me, boom, I woke up. That was one of those where it was like, whoa, that was too real. But it was like almost like telepathically told me, and that's when I started using the name O the Architect, right? Wherever it's at over here, yeah, O the Architect. So what do you call it? And at first I thought, oh, because just the way, when I write a song, it's like I already saw the whole thing in my head. I just gotta piece it together, right? Like, or even the music things. It's like I would see the whole vision already. And that was probably really before understanding that I could see things like that. But it was like if I would just see everything and then okay, it's just putting it all together. But it's like I already had the design. Later on I will find out that it was a bigger message to that, right? Like, because I've seen things like, I've had visions of seeing things being built on the earth, right? Like, boom, all this stuff now in hindsight. So I think all that architect stuff was a lot deeper. And now understanding that, like I did, whether I pre-plan my life or co pre-plan my life or just, things like that. Um, you know, so whatever, that name fits more now, right? The fact that why it wasn't just about music. It was a lot deeper. I just didn't realize it at the time, right? It took years to figure out that it was a lot deeper than just using it as a well, I always knew it was a title, right? Because O is just like for Omar, right? O the Architect, right? Like it was more of a title than anything, right? So that's why I was looking at the O on my ring light too. So anyways, what else? What else? I think that's it. Let me just share this last funny story of something that happened um yesterday, right? So I was I was reading that book. I was in my backyard, right? And these birds start coming, right? And they're just like bugging and bugging and bugging. And I knew, right? Like, birds, messengers, whatever. But these were doves, so I don't know why I think of doves even more. But they were just bugging. They wouldn't leave. So I was like right away. I knew I'm supposed to go get my phone, and I was like, let me finish this chapter. But they kept on, and they were, you know, I don't know if it's doves or pigeons, the ones that do the ooh, ooh, ooh. So it kept just bugging, and they were rattling the tree, and I'm like, oh, like they never do that, right? Like they never do that. So, uh, I was just like, I knew right away, okay, I'm supposed to go get my phone. I had left it charging because it was like already dead. And so finally, I'm like, all right, fine. I didn't even finish the chapter, but it took me a while. And then, like, probably like almost 10 minutes, right? I just wanted to keep reading. And then, so when I go in and get my phone, sure enough, I had missed an important phone call. And then, there was a little bit of phone tag. And then eventually, I got through, but they were telling me, right? So even that, the messages are there, whether because lately I hadn't really been seeing a whole lot of things like just through dreams. And then obviously the animals have been super active right now in my life, showing me things, right? So it's a beautiful thing. It's just a reminder, right, of this whole journey. Um, Again, I think the whole point was about that, right? It was just the anniversary of that thing. They didn't let me, whether it was me that had planned that in to not let me to get hit, so I would stop escaping, right? Because that was the whole point of it. How I didn't just buckle down, right? And because of that, what happened? Like within the next year, I started the podcast. I wrote the books, 3 books. I worked on more music. Had I been up in my head, like all this stuff, like after my brother passed and me just going this and that, even that, like I felt like if I would have gone, I was gonna find what I was looking for, right? Like that was my exit point. How they say them now, like exit point, like that was one of my exit points. I saw where they were. I was trying to get to them. Maybe whether they had a hand in that, right, and preventing me, because obviously, right, they would have known that I was on my, because I didn't tell nobody, so I didn't feel like, oh, someone sent a spiritual attack my way to prevent me from going over there. It was like, or it was like the different variables, or it was the energy from just passing through the most populated part in over here in this whole area, right, in all of Los Angeles County. I was going right through like the lion's den, so to speak, right, where everyone's all like, oh, it's all that pandemic energy. Everyone's losing their minds in all these apartments and this space, and I felt like I just had to get through it and I would be okay. But it just stuck with me, and then yeah, and then after that, right, and it was crazy because on the way home after they picked me up, we passed by this really bad accident. So it almost looked like someone had definitely passed away, right? Like if someone was killed in that car accident. So I thought, wait, what if, like, I don't know, it was just weird. I was like, what if that was meant for me or something, or it would just got weird, or what if that person came to find me? Because I was already aware that I was like getting in tune. So like, what if that spirit went to find me, like at the moment that I started feeling it? It was like something to do with that person, like meeting their, transitioning, right? Because yeah, it was clear like as we're driving. So it was just so many variables. So I was just, especially the not knowing, right? I wanted to understand like what had just happened. Like, was it a spiritual attack? Was it people's energy? Was it this person that had passed away on the freeway? Uh, you know, heading the opposite direction that I was going. Um, was it the Palladians that stopped me because they were like, hey, it's just not time yet. Like we can't let you get here because we know you know something like that. Like it's just not time. They would have probably been the only ones because I felt right because it had been a year earlier that I had gone there in the spirit world. So I was like, oh, like I'm supposed to get there. I felt like I was lagging it. Like I had already taken a year, and I was supposed to get there. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this. And I did. I tried. I tell people to go with me, and people always say, oh yeah, I'll go with you, and then nothing. And then another person, oh yeah, I'll go with you, and then nothing. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna take this. That's how I am. Like I'll ask so many times, and then I'll just do it myself, right? Um, Now it's like I'll ask one time, and then it's like, all right, cool. If not, then I'll just do it myself. It's fine. And so I was going on this journey by myself, and then I just got hit, and then that started a whole thing to where I am right now, right, sitting right here talking to all you amazing people, anyone that watched it this long, right? So thank you. I just wanted to make this video because yeah, yesterday I found even that, right? It was funny because talking about getting hit, it was almost like a little, like I felt like I got hit yesterday when I was doing the live, and I just froze when I started remembering this incident that had happened. I got all sweaty. It was like like I don't know, I think I got too immersed in it. And I thought like just being live, maybe it was the wrong thing to talk about live, right? Because like I mentioned, I want to start doing lives where people could call in. Hey, maybe someone's just feeling lonely and they want to talk about spiritual stuff. I want to have that open line. Like I feel it went so smooth, like with the live I did with Jane, right? We were able to have someone call in, someone was able to hop in the video with us, right? So I want to be able to have it like that where I just do random lives, and if anyone wants to just hop in and chit chat, right? Whether it's a phone call, the chat's always open, obviously, when you're doing lives, but in case someone wants that to whatever to talk, to hop in the phone on the phone with me or in the video, I wanted to have that option open. So even yesterday, but I think yeah, it was just I don't know, maybe that was just the wrong subject to talk about. Um, it was so funny because I had seen a video of Billy Carson. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but I used to I had no clue that he had an encounter as well, right? That because I had listened to him before, because like I don't know how, just one day I came across him, and then I started listening to his theories, and some things I agreed with, but other things, since I had experience, I knew that I didn't 100% agree with the way he saw it, even though yeah, maybe that's what it was being shown to him. It was fine, like anything's possible, really. So it wasn't to discount anything he said. It was just like, okay, well, I didn't experience that like that or this like that, right? So it was just things like that. And so I listened to him as much as I could. Or I think he's the one that probably had mentioned the Emerald tablets even, and that's what made me go listen to the. I think I listened to the whole audiobook about the Emerald tablets or things like that, right? And it took a while, not too long, right? But just while I was driving back and forth with things, I started listening to the Emerald tablets and all this and that. So um was it him? I don't know if it was him. Whatever. I don't know. I think that's it, right? Because it's funny. I don't know if you guys saw the video with Maria. I told her something was pulling on my ear, and now I feel like my other ear. Last time it was the right ear, and now it's the left ear. I feel like something's pulling on it. So I don't know what that's about. But I'll end it there. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Um, yeah. So like I said, I'll be doing lives. Hopefully, right? That's what I'm gonna aim for, to do lives, connect with people. Just think of it like a radio station where someone they have the lines open. Maybe I could start off with at least once a week, right? I'll pick once a week to do that. And then if I see that people are interacting with me and this and that, then I'll just start doing it um more, right? Like maybe twice a week or something. It doesn't take a lot, right? It's not like hard to do for me to just boom hop on it live. Maybe I could just sit there in silence, right? And I did want to add this song, right? So I was trying to figure out how to do the live and add one of my songs, right? Because like I said, that was part of my journey, right? Like, and even this song that I wrote, um, when I did this song, that's how I was laying in my bed, super like depressed, really, that day, and I didn't know what to do. So I just pick up a guitar, and I had taken lessons before, but whatever, right? Not really that much, and so I just start strumming on it. It was all out of tune. I hadn't even tuned up the guitar, but somehow I found these chords and I just started singing, right? And it's that song like the I've been there, right? It goes like, I know where you headed, cause baby, I've been there. I said, I know where you're going. Something like that, right? I'm just like strumming. But the original one, I recorded it on a phone, right? Cause I was like, man, I have to record this. So I recorded it on a phone. And obviously it instantly took me out of that funk. And I recorded it on a phone and I took it to the studio and I had the guy redo it. But I mean, I think the way we redid it, a lot of people have when I released the song, a lot of people really liked the song. It really touched them, right? But I always like the original one, though it sounded a little probably more like a sadder, right? It definitely sounded sadder. The chords I was hitting, it even sounded a little distorted, right? I was like, I don't know how it was out of tune, and I just figured it out. And but when I took it to the studio, this phone recording, and I was like, hey, could you remake this? Like to the guy at the studio. I had to burp. That's why I'm like doing this weird face. So I took it to the studio and he remade that that musical thing. So I'm gonna play the video right here. All that to say that that's how I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna play the whole video right here. Hopefully, you know, it won't flag me or something, this YouTube thing, because I own it, right? So hopefully they're not gonna flag my video because like I said, I own it. So hopefully it'll be cool me playing it right here, and I'll leave you guys on that note. But that's what this one's about, right? Just like I had to experience these things in life for people to be able to relate, or for me to be able to relate to others, right? On this journey. That's what I chose. That was part of my thing. My thing was to learn through experience, because what better way? And I love people that teach things very intelligently, right? Because that's needed as well. But I don't get hung up on that, because then how would you relate to the person? It's like Neo, right? In the Matrix, how do they talk to Neo first? First, it comes out on the computer like, hey, I know you're something. Follow the white rabbit or something. Then this girl comes, and then he follows her. Then he's taken, I think, to meet Morpheus, right? And then Morpheus gives them, hey, da-da-da. So there's steps to it. Boom, you're led here, then you're led there. So I love the fact that, like I said, right, my grandpa that gave me the name the architect, he would build bridges, right? Then out of all things, like, you know, I ended up being born on the city that connects, you know, these two countries, right? And then we moved to a city that is basically called Bridgetown, right? So it was like I started getting these messages that, oh, I am supposed to be this bridge, right? So it was even encoded into my life, or I encoded it so I knew what I was doing, right? That I was this bridge between both worlds, between worlds, even in the physical plane, right? Where you know, like that, yeah, I could connect with, you know, the grimiest, not, you know, no insult, of course, like intended, right? But like people that others might look at like, oh, whoa, like, you know, I wouldn't walk down the street past those people or something, or I could connect with them all the way to I could have a conversation with people, intellectuals or whatever, right? People that probably could never relate to certain people, right? So I love that I chose that journey, and so that's what this song represents, right? It was that I've been there, um, you know, and even at a younger age, I was already understanding of that, right? So I'll leave it with that. I'll play the song real quick, the video, if you guys want to hang around and check it out. Um, you know, and I'm just gonna add it here, and then that's it. All right, thank you so much for watching. Peace.
I said I know where you're going, 'cause baby I've been there. I said I know where you're heading, baby don't be scared. I said I know where you're going, I said I know where you're heading.
Listen up here.
There's a man outside begging for change, trying to find a way when there's no way. I mean, people tell him shoot right, he's in the way. But I tell you about 1-5 ago, it wasn't the same. 'Cause yeah, he had a wife and a nice little job. I mean, a house on the hill, but times are hard. Now I'ma tell you all what happened, so listen to this. I mean, you might not even care, it just be like, hey, life's a bitch. But his wife, she caught the cancer, man, and she fell ill. And by the time that she had passed himself, he had tried to kill. But while drowning in the bottle, he just looked down at me and said, hey, give me that poison, son. 'Cause look, I know where you're going, 'cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading, baby, don't be scared. I said I know where you're going, 'cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading, baby, don't be scared. Now as the story went by, he started to cry, talking about the things that he's seen in life. He just didn't feel strong and he couldn't go on, and even asked for help like that 28 song. That's why she was the backbone that strums to his chords, and without her he didn't wanna see this life no more. Now the day that he had playing with a gun in his hand, a man came up to him and said, give me the gun, son. Look, I know where you're going, 'Cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading. Baby, don't be scared. I said I know where you're going. 'Cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading. Baby, don't be scared.
Yeah, life is hard, homeboy, and life moves fast. So I'm right here sitting thinking while I'm staring through this hourglass. Now I spend my time dealing with repercussions and all that fussing and cursing at the small things to the bigger things. Now I ain't want no rain, but homie, yet I sing like that little cage bird. I'ma let the whole world see my wings. 'Cause yeah, I earn my wings. Pay for the sins of many, plenty. They spent contemplating suicidal feels with Henny. Now this ain't meant for many, only them lone survivors. So the world divides us, there ain't nothing we can handle right. I see the blessings and the curse, so I seen this for those hurt, those raping, violated, shut off here on earth. I know where you're going.
'Cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading. Baby, don't be scared. I said I know where you're going. 'Cause baby, I've been there. I said I know where you're heading. Baby, don't be scared. Life may move fast, or it may move slow. I met a silly man who said he make it slow. We look up out towards space, or even at the sky. One that gets away, but never look inside. Breathe in, breathe out. Life is a maze, but we'll figure this out. I mean, human beings, I ain't got no doubt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I wanna feel this way forever.